Hello, my name is Chris Holmes, Editor-at-Large, and I'll be your host today. Welcome to CIO Live here in ASEAN. And as part of our Leadership in Technology series, we're here to talk to Aries Suswendi, co-founder and CIO of AllNorth Digital. So we're going to be talking today about digital transformation and your journey. But before we get started into that, maybe you could just share a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you got to your position as a tech leader today.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me here. My background is actually by education. I was in digital in IT, computer science and software engineering, and then I did business school afterwards. And I started working for a small and then later to medium and large company. So it's always been within the IT, and there's an integration of project management as well. In the beginning, it was, I was doing more into the development side. And later on, I did the release management, project management. And prior to my last journey in Indonesia, I was spending a decade doing digital transformation in a large insurance company in Vancouver, Canada. And then I moved to Indonesia to help as a consultant in the beginning to initiate their digital transformation. And then afterwards, they asked me to stick around to continue leading the program itself.
Fantastic. So let's just talk a little bit about digital transformation. And I know, you were one of the award winners in our CIO 100 last year, and as part of that digital transformation project. So maybe you could just give us an idea as to sort of how that project got started and what were the objectives, and maybe put that in the context of your organization.
Okay, so the organization is a EPC company, and it's called Trifactor. And in the beginning, it was more into a digital transformation program. I was there for almost 4 years, 3.5 years, give or take. And in the beginning, they just want to start the digital transformation. Each organization will have a different way or different service taxes of digital transformation. So they are, as you know, a lot of their employees are blue collar employees. And so the very beginning is just to democratizing the digital into their organization. So it's the understanding where we were at the point, and then we start planning, creating a roadmap and start executing, step by step and doing iteration as time goes by.
And what were the objectives of the digital transformation project? You talked about introducing digital across all the workers, and you talked about blue collar workers there. But what was the end goal? What was the business objective?
So in the beginning, it was more into trying to extract as much as value out of the digital asset that we had. That was the objective in the beginning, because we have a bunch of product and software that we utilize and we acquire as part of the project. And then once they're done, there's no sustainable plan to continue. And we underutilizing it and actually paying more for underutilized products, right? And then later on, we start aiming towards creating a practical and valuable products that will help the business. One of them is actually material management. That's one of the product that we won for IDC award as well. That's one of their core business as an EPC, engineering, procurement, construction company. That's one of their biggest costs, actually. In 60% roughly is their cost in making sure the materials is ready to be used when they start building the infrastructure at the physical point. And down the road, it's trying to utilize the information for us to help our business operation, including to do predictive analytics to understand what's happening before, and then to plan what can we do, and even make decision as soon as we have the right information. And the roadmap, like the long-term plan, is for us to extract the information, and as well as using as an asset for us to sell our services. So part of the business development to integrate digital as part of our offerings.
Very interesting, very interesting. So, I mean, as part of this project, how did you actually get started, and how did you, I suppose, embed digital in a quite a traditional type of organization?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was a consultant for the company. They're asking me to, hey, can you help us to do the planning, the strategic planning, creating a road mapping. So the first step that I like any other project that I usually do or consultant do is understanding, doing discovery session to understand where we are, what do we have at this point, and what are the key challenges, and including the vision or the wishes where we are going. So that's just mapping the needs, mapping the stakeholders, including partners, internal and external partners, and then start planning, creating a plan that can be changes over time. But that was the beginning. So understanding what we have, and as mentioned earlier, the first one that we targeting is extracting the asset that we have. And that was, if I can recall, one of them was the Microsoft 365. We have the license, we trying to start using it, but then it's not effective enough, and people are still using the old ways to do it. So we integrate the change management as well as a way of working, agile way of working as part of our digital transformation.
And I mean, one of the things that we do see and we read about is, one of the big challenges to digital transformation is actually who owns it in the organization. Maybe you could just share a little bit about how it was run within your team.
So fortunately, at that point, the sponsor is the CEO directly. So he has that wishes. He want to make the company more digitalized, right? And so we have the opportunity to work with other senior leaders to understand what their needs as well, and trying to prioritize. So we have a good sponsor at that time, and we have a good partner, like the leader partners, to start executing the transformation. And if I can call the beginning, it was only a few people, like myself and one of my team members. So we start from scratch in the beginning. And then as time goes by, depending on the project that we're working on, we increase the capacity to help us to speed up the process or the deliveries as well.
Very interesting. And I mean, one of the things that we always see key to success to digital transformation is really the focus around data. And I mean, having seen a lot of very traditional engineering companies, there's an awful lot of sort of manual data collection, a lot of clipboards and pens that are actually used. I mean, is that something that has changed as part of this project?
It was interestingly, as we start our transformation along the way, we start partnering and learning from other people in the same industry, in the community, the agile community, or even the digital transformation community, as well as the sister company that we work with. Now, one of the key lessons that I capture from others around it is to have a clean data from the very beginning as much as possible. Because the way, if you do it later, it's gonna be time consuming and then can be costly. So that's why in the very beginning, what we're trying to do is identifying some of the sources of the data. And then while we're we're planning how we can utilize the data for either making a decision or we integrating it to do predictive analytics, right? And then we pull it back all the way to the very beginning. How do we capture the data? So either the data coming from a different system, either from manual. There's also manual data capture. So we try to simplify it as much as possible for data capture, including using a QR code, for example. So where we can scan and capture the data. And then another one, maybe using, I think what we did to capture a good quality of data was using a template, like an Excel template. And then we extract the data automatically, put it into our database so that we can visualize it better, right? So that's some of the information that we capture from different systems. We trying to simplify it and minimize typo in data itself. And then we also do from a template. And even from the template itself, we still see some unusual data or incorrect data. So we still have to do cleaning a little bit in the beginning. And we're trying to automate it, actually, the cleaning. So we know what we anticipated, and it is not the way that we anticipated, then we either is becoming exception or it's automatically fixing it, trying to fixing it the best of it.
So then our whole idea around that simplification around the data collection, I think that's very interesting in terms of actually objectives going forward and trying to remove as much sort of manual data collection as possible. So what successes have you achieved to date? I mean, you've talked about the time period that you've been going through, the team growing. What have been the business benefits that you've seen from this project?
So every time we trying to implement a solution, we did a lot of analysis and including identifying definition of data, like what success look like, what does it mean to the business, right? Some of them could be reducing man hours. That was one of the frequent, target that we're aiming towards. And another one could be, another one such as, minimizing the costs. So the comparison is if we start school, we're not doing anything. What does it need? Right? And then we come up with the design, with a new solution. What does it mean for if we integrating a new solution? As simple as for that sample, as simple as let's say we have an existing system that using on-premise, for example, right? And then if we start doing nothing, what does it mean in terms of the cost? And then if we replace it with a more updated version, then we replace it with a newer and a different brand at that time, and using cloud-based solution that help us to speed up the process. We don't have to maintain the server. We don't have to maintain the people, the support system, right? And that's another one that we target as one of our success look like. And another one, it's also, if we're looking at the data, we're trying to get the information faster so that we can minimize the risks, minimize the impact, making the right decision with the right information. The tricky part with manual data gathering, sometimes we don't know the accuracy of that information. And that information can be tweaked based on the needs or based on perception. But if we create a simple system that extracting the data automatically, it will increase transparency among the organization. which means that we get the data faster. We can make hopefully the right decision sooner rather than it's too little, too late, right? And that's one of the key thing. And the last one, I say, one of the success that we aiming towards now, we start doing it, is that to make that as part of our business as well. So as part of our offerings, as simple as a system that we create, I'm sure that we can replicate it for other business as well. And in the beginning, we simply giving a value added, because they're using our engineering services or our EPC services. We have a system that will be part of your services to help, right? And down the road, we can sell it, the product and services. I think the analytic product that we have was start being selling it to government at one point.
Very interesting, and again, that's something we see. One of the objectives of a lot of the digital transformation projects is almost how can we actually turn it to generate something that's going to create revenue for the organization. So very interesting there. So Aries, I mean, one of the things we see as being critical for this digital transformation initiative is around keeping the project alive. I mean, it's far more of a journey rather than sort of achieving an end state. So maybe you could just share a little bit about how you've actually kept the momentum going with the project. And I know you mentioned the roadmap earlier. So how do you actually just keep that enthusiasm going across the organization?
Yeah, so this is not my first rodeo to do the digital transformation. I had the opportunity to work on a large-scale digital transformation previously in a company, a large insurance company in Vancouver, Canada, and I was there for a decade, and I had the opportunity to look at a couple of key takeaways and integrate it into my next journey, which is in tripartite. So a lot of times the people, sometimes they're running out of energy. The people or the team or even stakeholder, sometimes they came across of some people call it transformation fatigue, for example, right? So the way we can continue motivating it and to keep the ball rolling is producing a result, producing an outcome. That's one of the key measures that we identified as the one that motivate people and incentivize the business as well. Hey, it's resulting something that help the business. For example, let's say in the beginning we came to all the business on how to use some of the Microsoft 365 products, SharePoint Online, right? And people are reluctant, so we do a few pilots in the beginning. People are reluctant to adopt it in the beginning. Microsoft Teams, Planner, but then as time goes by, we start getting the right POC, getting influence them, and getting the experience for them to do it, to get the value, while integrating with the change management, exciting change management as part of our whole plan. It's increasing the awareness and people see the result. And as time goes by, it's actually the other way around. More people are demanding more division and are demanding to do their transformation, the digital transformation as well. And that's what to keep us, excited all the time or as much as we can. And maybe I'll touch a little bit on the change management. There's a different kind of change management. There's even a framework how to do the effective change management. But the way we did it, we also integrate some of the exciting that will engage stakeholder. So for example, in the beginning, prior to COVID, actually, we had a few events. For example, Ice Cream Day, where we invite the stakeholder or the end user to have like 15 minutes to 30 minutes demo session how you can utilize Microsoft Teams, for example. And there's an ice cream there, who's gonna say no for an ice cream, right? So yeah, we don't want to have a long meeting and then they're not really getting the value out of it. So we incentivize with the right way to do it. And we also have a different, inviting speaker as well to kind of giving the picture how good looks like from a different organization. So that way we keep the ball rolling, we keep the momentum going, and people also have, or key and stakeholder also have a picture. What does it mean and the implication? What's the journey look like for us as well?
So really painting that future state and then getting people engaged. And I do like the idea around the ice cream day and sort of combining that with the demo, getting that marketing out there as to what the value is going to be. Very, very, very interesting that. So coming to the end of our session, Aries, I mean, one of the questions we always like to finish with is, what have been your key learnings from this project? I mean, if you were to do the project again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, so a couple key, like every time we do our sprint, we have the opportunity to get some of the key learning. What went well, what didn't go well. So a common one that didn't go well that we can change is actually getting a buy-in from the stakeholder, from the users. And then in the beginning, we try to iterate, we try to engage them more and more so that they have a sense of ownership as well. And we're also being empathy with their circumstances. But then some of the point of realization is that sometimes you can only do so much, right? And you cannot estimate what a future will look like or what their reaction with the changes, right? So if I can change differently with the experience that I have gone through, is that trying to find a lot of use cases, just to giving some more ideas, what are the possibility, and then at the same time, what does it mean to them? Like just giving them, because people react differently or unexpectedly because they don't know what does it mean to them. Right. If we can kind of organize the the possibilities, they're not shocking. Oh man, the data is now it's visible immediately. Then what does it mean? Some stakeholder can be rejecting. Oh, that's not accurate, right? But if we get a chance to kind of educate them, okay, the data comes from this location, the one that you enter. It's your data. This is the calculation, and this is potential output of the data. So that kind of information will help the stakeholder management, I would say, right, where they can anticipate what does it mean, so that they can behave, and maybe they can anticipate how to grow within that transformation. And that's one thing that I came across. Another thing, perhaps as you know, there's a lot of integration of AI lately, right? I think it's part of the progress, the digital, and it is anticipated many years ago, but then now it's faster. To integrate AI, ChatGPT can simplify some of the work, not every work that you do, that some people do. And then at the same time, some of the job might be out of date. So we just have to continue educating some of the people, some of the tools out there or technology that can be utilized. So yeah, that another one is just with the development of a new technology and new tools, we just have to stay up to date and try to translate it to our use cases.
So that focus on empathy, but also having that use case library where you can go and share, and also that, if you like, that technology scan, that need to be abreast of what the new technology is and how that can actually be introduced, and again, lead to more transformation, if you like.
Correct. And a lot of stakeholders, especially the non-digital savvy stakeholder, sometimes they still see technology or digital as in a magic or a magic box, right? And some stakeholders say, "Oh, of course you can do it," even though we have to think, or maybe it's not possible yet, right? And the other one said, it could be something, feasible or not feasible, because it still required human interaction or human involvement. So there's kind of trying to communicate it better. I would say that's one of the key word that I find it might be practical to any other translation in general.
That's great. Aries, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. Once again, my name's Chris Holmes, Editor-at-Large for CIO here in ASEAN, and I've been talking to Aries Suswendi as part of our Technology Leadership live sessions. If anybody has got any questions or comments on this, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.